Now, don't get it twisted. Starbucks here, Starbucks there, Starbucks everywhere. We wouldn't wear a mask in church. Hey adventurers, and welcome back. I am coming to you from me and the Minis little vacation spot in Virginia. So today I'm gonna be going over some lessons that I learned from living in a small town / an island. I was thinking about this on the flight to Virginia. I have learned so much, so very much. And whoever tells you, if you ever hear somebody say, oh, it's the same thing, living in a big city is the same thing as living in a small town, it's a lie. It's an absolute lie. There are positive and not so positive, maybe depending on your desires and the kind of person you are, to both types of living. I mean, as you know, things like you can get pretty much anything you want in a big city. For reasons like that, some people rather live in big cities and small places, but I just want to give you kind of what I've learned, and maybe this will help you when you are looking to move somewhere and looking to explore new places. Your search for a place that you want to call home, or even like a temporary home, has to include more things than just, oh, it's a cool cost of living or the weather's nice. It really has to be more encompassing. So I wanted to give you guys kind of this food for thought, if you will, in regards to what I have learned along this journey. Lesson number one: in a small town, community is essential. Community is essential anywhere, especially if you are a parent. Community is essential everywhere that you go. It's really important that you have people that can support you as a person, as a parent. And I suggest that if you're looking for somewhere to move, that you try to build that community actually before you even move, and talk to people, you know, via Facebook, Instagram, the Twitter, TikTok, however you can reach out. Look for groups. And it's especially challenging now because of everything that's going on in the world, but there are definitely people out there still looking to be social, especially wanting to be social during this time. So I encourage you to look for groups, inform the community if you can. Not always possible, but if you can before you get there. I didn't realize how essential that was until I was out there and I was like, oh, I ain't got nobody. And then two, if you don't have people kind of already set up, it might end up putting undue amount of pressure on the people you do meet, pressure on your end and on their end for them to be more of a community than they're willing or they want to commit to. And you never want to feel like you're a burden to anybody or that you're putting them out, of course, right? No one wants to feel like that. So it's best if you can form these genuine connections before you move out there, if at all possible. And if you find you can't do that, I suggest you go ahead and move out there and just try to be as social and as outgoing as you possibly can. To just kind of reach out. If you're a parent, there's the added bonus of our kids being in events that you can meet other parents through and things like that. I've definitely discovered that. The next one is access to all the foods you want. When you're in a small town, you don't have that kind of access. We live, you know, in Alaska, where the whole island just has one Starbucks. And we're used to just rolling over to Starbucks here, Starbucks there, Starbucks everywhere. Instead of a one-horse town, it was a one Starbucks town, a one Walmart town, a one Safeway town. That definitely meant that you couldn't get all the things that you wanted. Me and the Mini love trying out different types of kimchi. And so we would just be so upset when we would go to like the two places that sold kimchi and they'd be out. We're like, why? No, we couldn't drive anywhere to get any. That would definitely be a bummer. But on the flip side, it's kind of good because it was really a challenge to actually gain weight in Alaska because you don't have access to food as much as you would here. So like, we've been back in Virginia for a couple of days, and it's been okay. You know what? Just, you know, I'm not even gonna say anything. I'm just gonna show you. So we've been in Virginia a couple of days and we've already punished a lot of food, a lot of unhealthy food. So it's very easy to be unhealthy in the lower 48 than it is in Alaska. Now, don't get it twisted. Are there people that are overweight in Ketchikan? Yes, for sure. Yeah, because I mean, there's definitely McDonald's, there's definitely sweets. If you want to be unhealthy, you can. But I feel like it's harder to be unhealthy, or it's harder at least to be out of shape there, because there is all the hiking, there's the fishing, which all are things that are laborish. There's a lot of people who do a lot of maintenance things and work on their home, work on their boats, a lot of access to fresh seafood and things like that. So you really have to either have some kind of medical issue or kind of, I feel as if really trying to be unhealthy. And this is from a girl who I can say that because I used to be like 240 something pounds. You know, you don't have the food you might want to, and the food definitely costs more up there, but for me, it was a healthier space to be in. And so now I have to make sure that I restrict. So we shouldn't be doing sweets every day. Like, we shouldn't be doing that. So that's kind of like a little give and take you got there. So my next one is, in a small town, especially now, and especially I guess it being an island too. So are completely surrounded by water. The major city there is called Ketchikan. It's a major port, but it's the island of Religado. So it is an island, and you only at this point getting off out and about via float plane or via plane. So that's it. And so there is a level of freedom from that isolation. There definitely were people coming, like tourists coming for sure, but we're not having as many people come through as would other places that are landlocked, where people can just drive and then go back to wherever they came from. It's not as easy on an island. And so because of that, we don't have as much issue with COVID. COVID is not running rampant in Ketchikan. There's freedom. You can walk the streets with no mask on and pass folks by with no mask on. I wore a mask to work, but you felt safe. We wouldn't wear a mask in church, to lunch with friends. I really only wore a mask at work, and the many wore a mask during the school day at school. And then we wore them like into the Walmart and Safeway, but that was it. You're not wearing them in a restaurant. You're not wearing them, taking them off when you eat. You're just free. And so there was such freedom in that. It was actually pretty nice. It was actually pretty nice. I think a lot of people that moved there, their thing was, crap's hitting the fan, let's move to Alaska and, it'll be safer in Alaska. That's true. Like, I am really big into disaster movies, and so I felt like I was the end of the world. I was built for that, So, and I always say, if something crazy happened, head to the mountains, head out of the city. And that's true. There is freedom out there, but it's like you're living in the 90s. If you do decide to go to a more isolated place, you're not going to be living in 2020, whatever. You're going to be living probably and feeling like you're living somewhere about 10 or so years behind. And that's how it felt. For me, it definitely came down to, is Alaska safer? Yes. Do we have more freedom in Alaska? Yes. What quality of life do you want? And therefore, do you want it there? That was not the quality of life that I was looking for me in the mini. So even though it's risky to live in the lower 48, it makes more sense for us to live in the lower 48 for the type of life that I'm looking for. Yes, it's more dangerous in the lower 48 when it comes to COVID. I'm the kind of person, though, I'd rather live a awesome quality of life the way I want to live life for possibly a shorter amount of time than to live somewhere forever and it not be my version of living. And I suggest everyone think about that when they are looking for somewhere to move, be it a small town or a big city, whether you have community or not, or access to things you want or not. If it's not a good match for your life, you shouldn't be there, period. And I don't think anyone can argue with that. Even if people are like, oh, well, I own land here, I'm doing this. It doesn't matter. You can own land from wherever, you can have responsibilities from wherever. You have Skype and all the other things you can reach people on, Zoom or whatever. We've seen now more than ever, you can do a lot of things online. So you need to live where you are fulfilled. Don't suffer. People have been really going on this thing of grow where you're planted, sis. No, man, uproot yourself and grow where you're gonna flourish. We're not growing where we're planted. Why suffer? No. You find a way to get yourself out of something you don't like. And then you grow where you can actually flourish, have a clear mind. That's how I feel. And I do believe that God puts us in places for a reason and a season. I definitely do believe that. But I even more so believe He does not want you to be miserable. And if you're somewhere where you're miserable, it's affecting your your health, your mental space, whatever, you need to go. And let's do one more, and then clearly I do a part 2 to this video. Let me see my favorite one I want to kind of leave you guys with. I've learned the feeling of feeling trapped. That was different for me. I learned what it is to feel trapped, literally and figuratively. We were on an island that people often refer to as the Rock. You know, I saw how people were living and weren't necessarily happy to be there, and I didn't get it. And I heard, you know, before I moved there, that people get seasonal depression because of the weather. Me and the maid didn't get that. We were fine. So I didn't understand what other people did. But no, everyone's different, right? But I didn't get it. Why are people sad? Why? This is a beautiful place. Why? It's because they're trapped. There's a difference living somewhere that's beautiful and you can leave it and come back very easily. And there's no ferries going and coming anymore. It's just the planes. You are literally trapped on this island. It's expensive to fly out. If you want to move, you literally cannot bring, you have to leave your whole household. It is too expensive to try to move your whole household with you. So if you can't bring any of your stuff, if you can barely bring your car, and if you can't leave and come as you please, and it's really pricey, and the jobs aren't paying a lot, so it's a lot just to get the money to get off on a regular flight, people feel trapped. That feeling of being trapped leads to depression. But I've met other people who are from small towns who can drive off, but it's still kind of the same thing, like this small town kind of mindset. And so it's a lot of things. It's a fear of the unknown, so you feel trapped. Things are pricier, which feel like, okay, well, I know this here, this is a comfort I know here. And I definitely learned that you feel trapped. And for me, I never felt that way because I knew I came from somewhere. So I know if I came from somewhere, I came from Maryland, I know that I can go back, right? But for people who were from there or have lived a large part of their life there, it was really sad to see that they felt that way, that they felt they were trapped and they didn't have any other prospects. They didn't, you know, have anywhere to go. And for a lot of people, they normally would leave the island to once a year, twice a year, seasonally if they could. And now because of COVID, they can't do that. So they were feeling even more trapped, right? That was really impactful to me. So I hope this was really useful to you guys. I hope you got something from it. I still love this small town vibe, and I still am looking for like my golden child small town to live in. But a small town wrapped with it being on an island, this might not be the right mix for you. And small town life is definitely different for a city girl. It's a lot to be considered when you are looking to move somewhere. So there's community, access to the things that you need, but there's also this great freedom that you get when you are in a smaller place. Places you can go, cool things you can see. We had endless adventures. The whole island was 30 miles long. I have had more adventures on that small island than I have had in the 30-something years I lived in Maryland. I think when you're in a smaller place, you actually do more. Bonus to living in a small town or island. You're more likely to explore the crap out of it because that's what's there. And you really learn to appreciate the beauty. So don't forget to join me for part 2. If you have any questions about small town or island living, let me know in the comments below. I would love to chit chat about it. When I tell you it was an experience, it definitely was one, and one I'll never forget. I truly miss Alaska already. The mini misses access to kids and her friends, but I definitely miss just the peacefulness, the community. I'm not never saying never to Alaska again. I'm just lightly closing the chapter for right now. All right, guys, I will talk to you next week.